Hello, I'm Bob Schieffer, and welcome to the CBS Evening News Online edition. Just ahead, a political storm is brewing between the White House and Congress over whether an Arab company should operate American ports. Jim Axelrod will have details. Also, the U.S. Supreme Court stepped into the abortion debate again, agreeing to take up the issue of late-term abortion. And a new vaccine against the childhood disease rotavirus was approved. Elizabeth Caledon will have details on that. It's all starting now on the CBS Evening News Online edition. The Senate Republican leader urged the president to reconsider. The Republican Speaker of the House wants to postpone the deal. 2 Republican governors say no way. But President Bush said today he believes it is safe to let an Arab company operate 6 U.S. ports, and it would set a bad example for our allies if we kill the arrangement. That led congressional leaders to say they will prepare legislation to do just that, kill it, which led the president to level a threat of his own. We go first to the White House and Jim Axelrod. Jim?
Well, Bob, the president says tonight that he will veto any move by Congress to kill the deal, allowing this company, controlled by the United Arab Emirates, to operate ports in half a dozen American cities.
It's a highly unusual day at the White House when the president is forced to come to the cameras to defend himself from members of his own party.
The transaction should go forward, in my judgment. If there was any chance that this transaction would jeopardize the security of the United States, it would not go forward.
Senate Majority Leader Bill Frist and House Speaker Dennis Hastert today added their voices to a chorus of top Republicans who say security concerns should prompt Mr. Bush to re-examine, if not cancel, the deal, allowing the company to run ports in Miami, Baltimore, New Orleans, New York, New Jersey, and Philadelphia.
If we learned anything inside 9/11 is we can never be too careful. In this case, we're actually being negligent, and it almost approaches criminal negligence.
Even though 2 of the 9/11 hijackers came from the UAE, President Bush says that's irrelevant, calling the UAE an ally in the war on terror. He pointed out the company will manage operations, not security, and that no one said a thing when the company had British owners.
I think it sends a terrible signal to friends around the world that it's okay for a company from one country to manage the port, but not a country that is plays by the rules and has got a good track record from another part of the world. Can't manage the port.
It's not just Capitol Hill. Republican governors like George Pataki in New York, Robert Ehrlich in Maryland, both of whom have affected ports, have also been quite critical. One governor of a state who's not been critical, a state that has a port, Republican Governor Jeb Bush of Florida. Bob?
Well, Jim, this is some pretty strong talk, and this is just fairly weird. There's no other way to put it. But is anything happening here besides just the strong rhetoric we're hearing? Is anybody trying to take any other actions?
Oh, yeah, actually a Democratic governor, the newly installed governor of New Jersey, John Corzine, he's directed his attorney general to file suit, both federal court and state court, to stop this deal. Bob?
Okay, well, thank you very much, Jim. The Supreme Court is stepping into the abortion debate again. It's an old debate, but this time it will be argued before a court with a new Chief Justice, a new Associate Justice, and very possibly a new balance of power. The court agreed today to consider the constitutionality of the ban that Congress imposed on a kind of late-term abortion that critics call partial birth abortion. Here is Wyatt Andrews.
Just the announcement the Supreme Court will rule on the late-term abortion ban was heartening to abortion opponents who hope Justice Samuel Alito will become the new swing vote against abortion rights. 3 years ago, Congress, hoping for this very day, passed a law it called the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act, making it a crime for a physician to deliver, quote, a living fetus and then essentially kill it. The law does not have an exception for the health of the woman involved. And that was on purpose, says the bill's co-sponsor, Congressman Chris Smith, because abortion opponents believe the health exception guts the law.
Because health means everything. Mental health, emotional health. It's seen as abortion on demand. That there is no prohibition at all.
In her years on the court, however, Justice O'Connor protected the woman's health exception, and she did it so often it became accepted constitutional law. So every federal court that has ruled on the late-term ban has struck it down, including the Eighth Circuit Appeals Court, which said because the act does not contain a woman's health exception, it is unconstitutional.
That's the core issue in this case. Will women's health and safety continue to be paramount when the state regulates abortion?
During his confirmation hearings, Alito would not tip his hand on abortion, but came out strongly in favor of honoring previous court decisions.
There needs to be a special justification for overruling a prior precedent.
If Justice Alito meant what he said, when he said that he believes in a strong rule and role of precedent at the Supreme Court, this law is going to fail.
So when this case gets argued, the question is, which Alito will it be? The Judge Alito who votes to uphold precedent, that Alito keeps the woman's health exception. But the Alito conservatives think they are getting votes to ban this partial birth abortion. Bob?
Thank you very much, Wyatt. A federal advisory panel recommended today that every infant in this country be immunized against rotavirus. Rotavirus is a disease that causes severe diarrhea in millions of children. Our medical correspondent Elizabeth Caledon is here to tell us about this important story. Elizabeth?
Well, Bob, some people have referred to rotavirus as the wicked stepsister of the flu. You don't hear about it as much, but it's just as nasty and just as common, infecting about 3 million American children every year. That's why the government today announced it's taking big steps to prevent it.
In the last week alone, Arkansas Children's Hospital has seen 20 cases of rotavirus, a highly contagious childhood germ that causes vomiting and diarrhea. Even if you haven't heard of it, you or your children have probably had it in varying degrees.
Most children, by the time they're 3 years of age, will have experienced at least one episode of rotavirus.
About 70,000 children are hospitalized every year. Sometimes it's so severe, babies like 11-month-old Sarah Christians have to be in intensive care for days.
If there's a vaccination out there for this kind of thing, why not? Why not use it?
The Centers for Disease Control has been trying to rid the country of rotavirus for years, but it hasn't been easy. There was a vaccine on the market in the late 90s, but it was pulled within a year because of rare side effects. This new vaccine, developed by doctors Fred Clark and Paul Offit, has been tested in about 70,000 children. The FDA deemed it safe and effective, approving it earlier this month.
It's gratifying to know that at last we have in hand a technology which can prevent a lot of suffering in this country.
Rotavirus is rarely fatal in the United States these days, but its prevalence means sick kids, missed work for parents, and a lot of worry.
It's tough seeing your child in this state, so any preventative measure we can take would be great.
Now, the government's recommendation will be that all children between the ages of 2 and 6 months get the rotavirus vaccine. And the good news is there are no needles involved. It's not a shot. It will be given as drops that are squirted into the mouth. Bob?
You know, I was just thinking, how many shots and vaccines and things do kids now take?
It does seem like a lot. Right now, there are 14 that are either mandated or urged, recommended. This will be number 15.
And this will probably have more impact overseas than in this country, wouldn't you say?
You know, that's exactly right, Bob. In this country, it's scary, it's a nuisance, but it's not a killer. Overseas, in developing nations, in poor countries, about 500,000 children die every year from this disease.
All right. Well, thank you very much. More stories are just a click away, but don't forget to join me on television for the on-air edition of the CBS Evening News. On Wednesday's broadcast, it has been nearly 6 months since Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans and Mississippi's Gulf Coast. We'll look at how the recovery is going in 5 days of special coverage. For CBSNews.com, I'm Bob Schieffer.